SmackDown in Barcelona was pretty good, though the show still felt a little too long. I still don't understand why some fans want WWE television to be 3 hours long. For what it's worth though, we got some big highlights. New WWE Tag Team Champions, the crowd was unbelievable, they sang Randy Orton's entire theme song, Gunther had a banger, a big debut and return were teased. I think I already told you who I think that might be. I'm almost sure it's Aleister Black, but what the 4 means. Maybe a date, but isn't it 4 years since he was last seen in the WWE? Whatever the case may be, I think it's Rey Fenix and Aleister Black. And Jimmy thinks LA Knight is carrying a tag team title. Boy, delusional. What do you mean we're not a tag team anymore? We're twins. We came out the same hole at the same time. How do we tell him he's not winning a world title at WrestleMania? How do we shatter those dreams? People, we need more international WWE shows. The crowd is just on a whole different level. Everybody's treated like a superstar. And people, I'm officially an idiot. I had no idea this show started at 9 p.m. in my country. I was editing my video while the show was on. Let's talk about SmackDown. The show kicks off with LA Knight. Huge pop right here. He says this is the first ever SmackDown in Barcelona and jokes about the crowd being too quiet. At one point the crowd were kind of confused. Are we doing a great job? That's how serious they take this job. Obviously you deserve a chance. Knight says it took too long, but now everyone knows whose game it is. Honestly, it felt like LA Knight was like, yeah, this is a mid-card championship, you know, keep the chance. Keep the chance. I almost got that vibe. Jimmy Uso interrupts, says he's desperate and challenges Knight for the United States Tag Team title. You know, all jokes aside, I kinda get it. His entire life, he used to say, I'm challenging you for these tag team titles. So I kinda get that. Solo arrives, says the only one who deserves a shot is Jacob Fatu. Jimmy fires back, reminding Solo lost to Roman. Bloodline attacks Knight and Uso, but Braun Strowman makes the save, who got a huge pop, and we got a 6-man tag team match. Obviously with it, people, a 6-man tag not being on SmackDown is a crime. Now, again, even Braun Strowman got a huge pop. This is crazy, people. Nothing against Braun Strowman, but these crowds are so good, man. These crowds are so good. Now, obviously, we got the match. I didn't mind it in this kind of show because obviously when I have more people on the show, a lot of wrestlers are pretty over in this one, and the babyface team ended up winning the match. But WWE played it safe. They wanted to make Jacob look really, really strong, so they came out on top in the end. People, from being on a predictions losing streak, I'm doing better and better. I told you I want to see Jimmy Uso winning the United States Championship, Jey Uso winning the World Championship, big moment, you brothers celebrating with singles championships at WrestleMania. But now, since LA Knight is a champion, I don't know how I feel about that. You know, you got a Jade Cargill sit-down interview in an empty arena. I can already see many people making this is AEW jokes. She's emotionally angry about Naomi playing the victim. She remembers little about the attack, except Naomi running away. So we got Liv Morgan and Raquel interrupting. This felt like a high school segment, really. You know, 2 bullies, basically. Jay challenges Liv to a match next week, and Liv accepts. I have really high hopes for this Naomi heel turn. Like I've said, we need a new song, we need a new entrance. At the end of the day, her entrance, her music is the most babyface thing you could ever do. People, we got B-Fab versus Charlotte Flair. Okay, so nobody cares about this, right? But first of all, I've realized something again for the 159th time, I believe. WWE music keeps getting worse. People, B-Fab came out to a theme song I heard for the first time ever, honestly. That sounds exactly like Tiffany's theme song. Go and watch it. It sounds almost identical. It has an intro and all, and it has the same tone and attitude. It just sounds a lot worse, but it's pretty much the same shit. They copy and paste every single theme song. They can't keep getting away with it. WWE, is that an issue that will ever get fixed? Like, seriously, you gotta do something about it. You know, nothing against B-Fab people, but while watching the match, it felt like a training session, and it really felt like Charlotte Flair was carrying her in the ring, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Obviously, I'm all for everybody getting these opportunities, but, you know, it's Charlotte Flair. You can give her a more established superstar and she can beat that superstar. It's not that big of a deal. Losing against Charlotte Flair is not gonna hurt you. So obviously, we got some pretty iffy spots, but Charlotte Flair wins the match. Throughout the show, we got these brawls between Charlotte Flair and Tiffany Stratton, and we got two high spots, right? And both looked absolutely horrendous because everybody got hurt except for Charlotte Flair. It happens, it's pro wrestling. But you can tell WWE know that people are not that into the storyline and they're trying some crazy ass shit, so I gotta give props to the WWE. It's gonna be a tough one. Drew McIntyre is furious after having his big moment ruined, always by Damian Priest, because Damian Priest always took advantage of these Drew McIntyre ruining opportunities. Okay, so Drew McIntyre versus Damian Priest, you know my stance on this. But Shinsuke Nakamura meets with Nick Aldis, asking for a US title rematch. Damian Priest interrupts looking for Drew McIntyre, but he's not there. Nakamura says something in Japanese, Priest fires back in Spanish. Priest wants a fight, Aldis makes it official. We got Damian Priest versus Shinsuke Nakamura. Pretty okay match. I know there's a lot of slander on Shinsuke Nakamura. I don't think he's that bad. It's just that WWE can never follow on the momentum they built for him. Every time he does something cool, it gets ruined in like a couple of weeks. I don't know what's the case right here. Maybe he's a superstar who always kinda needed a manager. Maybe it's the fact that his promos are limited. I don't know, but every time they push the guy, it gets ruined in like a week or two. Well, anyway, we see Drew McIntyre, and we got this big fight, right? Like, WWE are really into brawls lately because the one with Seth Rollins and CM Punk really worked out. So we got this fight, and Drew McIntyre was absolutely vicious. And the ending, man, like him stomping his head, that increased my excitement for this rivalry by at least 50%. I know. Look, people, it's not super exciting. At the end of the day, though, whether we like it or not, the story makes sense. It makes sense. When Drew McIntyre explained it, every time he got screwed, almost every time, Damian Priest was there and he took these opportunities. And that's what makes it pretty good. You know, Drew McIntyre is actually right. Even though he's a heel, he has a point. And while it still feels like it's not enough for Drew McIntyre, I'm at a point right now where I'll just let him cook because these two are great talent. And at the end of the day, if Drew McIntyre comes out on top, that's a good thing because Drew really needs it right now. Every time he's in these rivalries where he's blaming somebody for ruining his moments, he always loses. And at a certain point, you gotta get that W. You gotta win because at a certain point it's gonna be like he's just a guy who keeps complaining and never actually wins anything. The Miz introduces Cody Rhodes, mocking him for getting beat up by Travis Scott and John Cena. Cody's music hits and The Miz cuts the music off before the signature woe. So he just beats the shit out of The Miz for no reason basically, grabs the mic and says the only person he wants to talk to is John Cena. That's it, that's the segment. And I kinda get it, Cody is from SmackDown, you need that Cody pop on the show, but at the end of the day, there's nothing left to say. We need to get that segment. So I feel like that was a pretty fun segment. You know, him just coming out, beating the shit out of The Miz, showing his vicious side. And then, finally, in a couple of days, we're going to get the segment between John Cena and Cody under one roof. And I don't remember the last time I was waiting for a Raw episode that much. Randy Orton's entrance was absolutely spectacular, people. Everybody were singing it, and it's just, for Randy Orton mark, so heartwarming to see that people are finally showing respect to Randy Orton. We got Orton versus Carmelo Hayes, right? Fun match, a perfect fit for Randy Orton's return match right here. Carmelo is absolutely unbelievable in that ring. So Randy Orton picks up the W, but he's like, you know, just good is kind of good. Just good is, how do I say this? I don't think he's quite stupid. So he's like, I'm gonna shake this kid's hand. But he got disrespected and gave him an RKO. Then we got a fight between Kevin Owens and Randy Orton, which again confirms a WrestleMania match. I'm super excited because this is a great rivalry, but it needs a stipulation. It's one of these rivalries that desperately needs a stipulation at WrestleMania, whatever it might be. We see Gunther, he issues a challenge mentioning a kid from Spain and mocking him, introduces Axiom as his opponent. I think that's how you say his name. If I would read that in my language, it would be Axiom. Well, anyway, we got the match, and what a banger, man. What a banger, random-ass match on SmackDown from a guy who's from NXT. Gunther is not even a SmackDown superstar, so Gunther obviously picks up the W. The crowd was hot during it, absolutely loved this one. And I've seen a tweet from somebody saying that's what WWE should have done with this entire title reign. You know, Gunther is a fun promo, but in ring is where he shines. And during this entire title run, he should have had more matches to kind of remind you that this is Gunther. This is the guy you wanted as a world heavyweight champion. We almost kind of forgot how good he is. Then he talked to Jimmy Uso saying, well, you're the more mature one, so maybe you're gonna understand. Jimmy fires back saying Gunther will lose his rank and title at WrestleMania. Yeet. I was wrong about your maturity. Jimmy is just excited about that tag team match, man. He's like, I'm gonna be one half of the world heavyweight champions. Good luck with that. Paul Heyman comes out, says today is Roman Reigns Day since WWE 2K25 is officially out. Buy the game, but wait till SmackDown is over, keep the ratings high. Mention CM Punk, but shuts it down. It's not Punk Day, and it will never be Seth Rollins Day. But people, isn't it Rusev Day? Crowd are singing Seth Rollins' theme song. Heyman says he hates it. He hypes up next week's SmackDown because it will feature the OTC, and of course the people are booing. Heyman tells them to buy a plane ticket if they wanna be there. Paul Heyman is hilarious on the microphone, man. Nobody can touch this guy. Promises Reigns will address things, and that is not a prediction but a spoiler. So not only Raw is something we need to be watching, SmackDown is gonna be special too. Man, this is a good time to be a wrestling fan. And, you know, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, CM Punk, that is a great rivalry by itself. But you add Paul Heyman. You add Paul Heyman's relationship with both Roman Reigns and CM Punk, the potential twist of him siding with Seth Rollins, which is not gonna happen, but just throwing ideas right here. And the favor. What is the goddamn favor, people? I keep telling you this, but something tells me there's this possibility of CM Punk still main eventing Mania with Cody and Cena. I know it's unlikely, but something tells me it might happen. Finally, we got the WWE Tag Team Championship match, Street Profits versus DIY. Very fun match right here. In my previous video, I said I hope the Street Profits are going to win because, you know, so many slight gimmick changes, face turn, heel turn, and it ends up being a nothing burger. So WWE, I hope, are going to go strong with this one. That's exactly what they did. They finally became the new WWE Tag Team Champions, which is great. Finally, for the first time since, I believe, 2020, they are holding championships in the WWE again. Pretty good moment right here, but again, new theme song, please. I take my words back. I just remember the music is made by Def Rebel. Keep the music. But people, that was your SmackDown. Pretty exciting stuff. I wanted to see Jimmy Uso as the United States Champion at WrestleMania, but now since it's LA Knight, I don't know how I feel about that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. The Great One, peace, love, and hugs. It's been a pleasure.